Oh, when I first went to my Kent Syndicate, I think it was the first year I was on there in the summer, because obviously I only get a summer ticket. And I turned out, I'd done a few trips. I caught, the first fish I had actually was a 41 pounder, but I think it took me about 10 nights to get my first bite. So obviously I was chuffed, and I thought, well, I'm obviously doing something right. And some of the other blokes on there were catching some of the big ones, and I weren't doing anything different really than what they was doing. It was just, I think it was just timing and luck. So I turned up for another trip. I had a little walk round. I was speaking to a fella, and it was on the full moon sort of phase. I speak to a fella, Chris, and he was telling me about he had a 48 pound common the day before. So I was like, oh wow, like they're obviously on the feed, the big ones. So pitched up in this swim. And funny enough, the week before I had actually caught I think it was a 30 pounder out of this swim, really weedy, sort of up behind an island. And I've just sort of guessed with the wind and the conditions, it was exactly the same. And I thought, there's got to be fish still up here. There's a few people on the lake as well. So I felt a bit like I was away from everyone up behind this island. So I'd set up, done the night in there basically, put a load of bait out, nothing. I woke up in the morning, it was like drizzle, sort of fine mist drizzle, like everything getting soaked. I woke up and I felt really disheartened, and I thought, yeah, I think I've got to move, or something's got to change. Well, about 7 o'clock, I'd had about 4 or 5 cups of tea, and I started seeing the odd fish just literally sticking its nose out and I swim round a corner. I could sort of see it, but the swim was round and it was sort of over that direction, as it were. And then I thought, I've just got really to move. So I've reeled in, run round with a bucket, like you do, stuck it in the swim, and to move on there is a bit of a saga. So I've gone back to the swim, wrapped all my gear up, gone back past the swim I'm moving to, back to the car park, got my van, because I had barbecues and all sorts as well. Come all the way back round, stuck all my gear in the van, went round this swim, and it took me basically all day to move. I fished it before this swim. I sort of knew the areas I wanted to sort of concentrate. Again, it's got some silt gullies between sort of like bars that run across in front of you, and there's an island. So I thought, well, I want to be in a couple of these silt gullies. So I just put singles out to start with. I thought I'd see the day out, just fish singles, because there's obviously a few fish about. Didn't have nothing. About 4 o'clock, I thought, right, I had 2 big buckets of bait. I thought I'm gonna fill it in tonight. It's all I bust really. These big fish like bait, and I'm just gonna give them some. I started spotting. It took me bloody hours, to be honest, to spot all this bait out. I just lit my barbecue up, put the last couple of spoms out, rinsed the buckets out, like, and all of a sudden I see the fish bosh from where I moved from, exactly where I was fishing, and I thought, what a donut. I shouldn't have moved. I was too quick to move, and I was just sitting there thinking, I've done a bad one here, really. So anyway, cut a long story short, had my dinner, got my head down for the night, and about, must be about 1 o'clock in the morning, I heard this sound like a washing machine going in. And I've sort of looked out at the edge of the brine, and I could just make, it's really dark down there, there's no like light ingress, it's really in the middle of nowhere. And I made out like the sort of ripples coming, and I thought, that's right over my left-hand rod. So I sort of eventually went back to sleep, and I thought, yeah, there are obviously a few around. And then must be about 5 in the morning, I suppose, it was just sort of semi-light, just getting light. And I had an absolute screamer on the middle rod. Picked the rod up, usual fight down there, like stuck in a wee bed, hold on to the rod for like 20 minutes, and eventually you just feel it coming, moving it again, and about 30 yards out, it's got stuck again. Held the rod like, again, another 10, 20 minutes. Eventually you just feel it, something's like, it's coming, it's pulled through, pulled it almost across this weed into this, it's like a 10-foot square hole in front of the swim, in amongst all the weed, and the weed it's about 13 foot, I think, in front, and it's weed top to bottom. And this fish, once I got it under the rod tip, it just really played up. It was literally left and right under the rod, and I'm full test curve, and it's like, it's going to make the weed, I can't let it make the weed, and I just feel it getting into the weed, and I just managed to just get it back out, and then it'd go the other way. And I must have played it about 20 minutes or so under the rod tip. Obviously a decent fish. I had strong, powerful rods. And it was just sort of half light, and I pulled it up, and it went back down, and I pulled it out again the second time, I think, and I actually touched it with a net cord, and it just went mental, and it went back down again, and it was left and right again, and I'm thinking this is just going to fall off. Eventually I've pulled it back up again, gained a little bit, and it just flopped on the surfing. I've just netted it first attempt really. I thought it's going in this time. I've got it in, and I just thought, that's massive, this fish is massive. And I remember getting the head torch out, because it was still sort of like, it was light, but you couldn't really see very well. And I just got the head torch, and I looked down, and I thought, wow, I reckon that's 50 pound. Unhooked it, leant over, sort of took the hook out of his mouth, and I just literally left it there. And I must have texted all my mates, I think, that morning. I thought, I've got a massive fish here. And I actually, to be honest, I got it out of the water. I thought, I've got to weigh this fish. I got it out, just quickly weighed it, and it was like going over, the needle was going over 50 pound. So I put it in a little retainer, stuck it in the edge for like 15-20 minutes, had another cup of tea, calmed down. I was more or less shaking really. I've never caught a fish this big. And then I got it out, done some self takes. To be honest, the pictures weren't the best. I probably should have waited till it got a little bit lighter, but I just wanted to get the fish sorted and back and that. And I rang one of my mates and I was just talking to him, and he's like, oh, what is it? And I'm like, mate, it's fish. And mate, I said it's 57.8. And he was like, oh, you've got the long common. And I'm like, what's the long? I didn't even know this fish was in there, to be honest, which is probably criminal really, because there's people on there, been on there years, trying to get this fish. And he said, oh, like, don't really get caught that often, it's a massive weight and all the rest of it. And yeah, it's 57.8, this is my English PB common. And it was, yeah, I caught over, I put out complex tea and sauce boilies mixed with like mixed particle. And I literally put 2 buckets, probably good 20 kilo I'd say I put in. Didn't have another fish though after that, it just went quiet, but to be honest, it's probably the best fish in the lake.